Dr. O, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. It's really fantastic to have you here.
My honor to have interview with you.
Thank you very much. So, how have you found the conference so far?
This conference is for me. This conference is very unique experience, and as you know, the location and the building itself is unique, and the contents are very productive and meaningful ones,
Yes.
including our session in
Yes.
this morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the best session of the conference, right?
Really?
So, I mean, obviously, the topic of the conference is mobility and sustainable mobility.
Yes.
I know that you have done within the Korean government,
Yeah.
you have done quite a bit of work in that area. But before we get to government policy and what the Korean government is doing or may be doing in the future, maybe we want to start off by looking at how people in Korea move around today.
In Korea, basically 40% of passenger transportation is explained by public transit. That means still 60% of passenger transportation is explained by personal cars, and recent trend regarding recent trend, environmentalists are concerned about the decreasing tendency of using public transportation. In that situation, government and NGO together are making efforts to improve the condition of public transportation. Uh, for example, we are Korean government made some metropolitan transportation authority as a new governance of transportation, and also Korean government is trying to strengthen coordination between land use and transportation policy.
That's very interesting because I think that that's something that has been missing from mobility strategies around the world.
Yeah.
So, what kind of efforts are you seeing increasingly to, I imagine, all these strategies between land use
Yeah.
and mobility would have an impact on walkability,
Yeah.
right?
Right. For can I can I show one example?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the coordination between land use and transportation policy. Recently, Korean government is preparing intercity railways, which is called GTX. This once we introduce this system, the commuting time can be reduced by 70 or 80%,
Wow.
and that could make people's quality of life improved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we have another episode in Korea uh, that is called Nohaechan bus.
Okay.
Yeah, the late member of Korean Assembly Nohaechan had shared the story of bus number 6411 or during his life, and that is blue collar workers,
Yes.
mainly mid-aged women, were taking bus number 6411. It's early morning bus, but the seats are enough, so they had to take bus with standing 1 hour for 1 hour every day, and people are touched by that story. And Seoul City recently decided to increase the frequency of those early morning bus. Yeah.
Well, just that story alone
Yeah.
is very, it's a very strong example of how changing the frequency
Yeah.
of service
Yeah.
in public transit can make a huge difference in the life of people using public transit, and therefore have an impact on the quality of life of people,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So this is a beautiful example. Now, I imagine that your government is looking to introduce other policies and programs to improve mobility. You talked about combining land use and mobility together because obviously they're very, very tightly knit.
Yeah.
Are there other things that your government is looking at?
Uh, the Korean government is also try to improve the transportation of rural area. Uh, in in rural area where the population are older, population is older, or decreased, and sparsely inhabited.
Yes.
They couldn't get a high quality of transportation service. In that situation, Korean local government began to provide the shared taxi service, $1 shared taxi service, which is called Happy Taxi.
Very nice.
Yeah, this this Happy Taxi is operated by taxi company
Yes.
and with subsidization. So normally when we introduce new type of transportation service,
Yes.
there has always been conflict among previously existing industry and newcomers. But in this case, there's no conflict. So I think that this could be a good case of how to move forward in public transportation with harmony.
Yes. And oftentimes in big cities where the population is dense and there are multiple mobility modes, there's less of a need for government to introduce new measures, new mobility means.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, how do we deal with rural, less densely populated areas? And
Yeah.
your example of the happy taxi
Yeah.
is very, very interesting.
I hope other countries to learn this case
Yes.
and introduce it.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is, the happy taxi makes people very happy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially seniors.
Especially seniors.
Yeah.
And I imagine that the uptake, the use of this service is very strong.
The this paratransit service is utilized by seniors.
Yes.
Thanks to that service, they can be connected to urban area. Their life became more happier than before.
Right.
Yeah.
So another example of
Yeah.
quality of life, we
Yeah.
talked about the bus 6411,
Yeah.
and we're talking about Happy Taxi, both two examples of how to improve quality of life for citizens.
Yes.
Well, this is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing these examples with us, Dr. Ho.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you at future Movin'On conferences.
Thank you. I hope it too. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.